All right, so I'm gonna give this book a Pulp Factor score on a 5-point scale, and I've based this score off the project's budget and scope, kind of looking at what its potential could have been based on its monetary limitations. And I do this sort of thing to sort of even the playing field between the big companies like Wizards of the Coast and their gigantic, their gigantic art budget, like say for Tomb of Annihilation, versus your small indie book projects that gets its money off a limited amount of money off a Kickstarter. So I don't think it'd be entirely fair. So I'm just looking at what its limitations probably are, and what did the author, the creative director, the owner do with this when creating it, and that's sort of what my score is based off of. So trying to be as neutral as possible. So I'm going to give the Modern Adventurer's Guide to Guns and Gear for 5th edition D&D by the Scrying Dutchman a hefty pulp factor of 4.5 out of 5 hummocks. Now, for reference, you're like, what the heck's a hummock? Some of you, right? A hummock is a hill or a mound, like a piece of forested ground that rises out of a marsh. And I live in Kitts Hummock, Delaware, so it's it's where one of my homes is. So and that's why I've called my press Pulp Hummock Press. So anyway, a little backstory there. But anyway, in this case, the Scrying Dutchman's book is an offering that I think rises out of the OSR 5th edition supplement material, role playing game industry muck per se, and I just think this is a fantastic product overall. It shines very brightly among its peers, and I really mean that. And if you and your players want to do something in a modern setting, like zombie apocalypse, or even space station horror with limited technology factors, or Hitman, or like a low tech like cyberpunk, something like that, or a slightly futuristic dystopia, which isn't very much different than our technology. This book is your dude, all right? It's your Jeff Bridges. And a lot of people don't want to switch systems when they just because they're switching genres, of going from fantasy to sci-fi or whatever. So this gives them that ability to stick with the rules they know and love. And a lot of players, they don't have time to learn another rule set, and that's probably why 5th edition is so popular. And there's so many clones of D&D to begin with. So the only reason I didn't give this book a full 5 stars is because of 2 minor issues that I think could have been caught or fixed before its release. The first one's the formatting and the layout issues that I mentioned earlier. There are places where you'll see a paragraph and then a space, right, and then another paragraph and a space, and those spaces aren't equal, and your eye catches it, very easily. And there's other places where they're smashed together, and then there's a few other places where the sentence just abruptly ends, drops down a few lines, and then continues. And so there's not very often that last one, like only 1 or 2 or 3 spots, but like just enough that like you noticed it. It doesn't make the book illegible or unreadable or unusable or anything like that at all. It's just odd spacing, that a bit of a strike against the layout, but like, okay, not the end of the world, right? It's just I'm expecting a little bit more from my Dutch friend in the Netherlands, and I know he can do better. So we want that Dutch perfectionism that we all come to love and enjoy from the Scrying Dutchman's work. So that's the first issue. Second issue is I felt that there was a part, for example, where the Dutchman could have went a little further with what he was doing in the rules to help newer referees. And I don't think older referees would have this problem, but experienced ones. But newer ones might want a little more guidance. So, like for example, in the beginning of the optional rules chapter, he talks very briefly about like how some rounds of ammunition will not go through certain materials like wood, metal, stone, and he doesn't go in and he just sort of hand waves and sort of dismisses it, like use your best judgment. And the problem is, how many players really know a lot about firearms, to be honest with you? Like, not a lot, right? I mean, I was in the Army, and I don't know a lot, So, full disclosure, just know how to point and shoot. And so, I felt like if you're buying the supplement, maybe a little guidance would have been helpful. And it wouldn't have been very hard in this case. Like, for example, he could have just went to the 5e DMG. There's the object hardness and hit point rules, and he could have just done something with that table really fast. These rounds in one line punch through wood. These rounds go through stone. These, you know what I mean? Like a little table, little fix. It would have been finished very quickly. It is. This is again. These are small gripes. I think this is a fantastic book. I highly recommend it. Again, 4.5 out of 5, very close to 5 in my opinion, based on its budget, its scope, and the writing's very clean, and it's a fun book. It's just a fun book with a lot of content. I mean, like I said, 52 pages of firearms alone, and a lot more of other stuff as well, and the tech stuff. So Scrying Dutchman. You can find him on drivethroughrpg.com if you are interested in this book, along with his other products. So this is Pulp Press. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all on the beach, baby.